God, this is my, like, third time recording this. Hey guys, it's Ruby. Ya boy. I'm gonna yap about X-Men and costume designs for an indeterminate amount of time. Do you want to join me? Is that a yes? Yay! Okay, so the topic of this video is X-Men costume design, and I'll be rating them on practicality and coolness. I don't know if that's a word, but whatever. I made a slideshow with pictures, but before we start, please don't get mad at me for not including or if I criticize your favorite character. I will probably make part 2 because, oh my god, there's so many X-Men, but we'll stick to my first slideshow for now. And this is just my observations. I'm not personally attacking character designs or the creators of those character designs. This is purely for fun. Let's first get an idea of what constitutes good superhero costume designs, in my opinion. I put in some pictures of costumes I think do work well, all non-X-Men. Notice how they all have helmets. So I'm ranking the costumes on flexibility, how much can they move in it, can't be clunky and get in the way, and no heels. And then as for protection, they need to be covered up. I'm sorry, I don't want to see any crop tops unless that is what your power needs. Does it actually prevent bullets, stabs, slashes, etc.? And then for durability, is it gonna break? It's really simple. Breathability is a little bit more complicated because you shouldn't be sweating buckets while fighting. I think Batman and Go-Go's costumes are a little bit of a problem here, but you shouldn't be sweating buckets while crime fighting because that will exhaust you. And then specifications for each character. I think Go-Go's discs are a good example of this in that you need something that will work for the character. So Scott's visors and Rogue's gloves are another good example. And also, it has to look cool because if it looks stupid, I'm sorry, it's just not a good design if your superhero costume looks stupid. So Magic's costume started this whole idea, so we're starting with her. By the way, I'll be picking the costumes that appear most frequently because there are several iterations for various characters, and that is really complicated. So back to Magic's costume. My first of many problems is the basically non-existent shorts. Why does she have such a huge belt and thigh-high boots if you're not going to protect anything? I know Illy probably won't let anyone get close enough to her for a kick or a punch, but if she got hit by a ranged weapon, it is not looking good. The stomach, chest, and upper thighs are completely defenseless, and the shirt honestly doesn't look that durable or protective. She does have knee pads and shoulder pads, which do look cool, but the boots are a little bit of a flexibility problem. They look really hard to bend your knees in. And I guess her powers that works fine with this. I love Magic, but her costume is gonna get a 1.5 out of 10. She's serving, but I don't know how long she will be able to serve the X-Men if she gets hit in the torso. That's how I feel about her costume sometimes. Scott is a split case in that his little pockets are useful, and the costume is definitely flexible, and I mean, look at him, it looks epic. But it's not protecting him against anything except sunburn, perhaps. He does get knocked around quite a bit and often skids on the ground, so he would probably need some kind of head protection. The bodysuit is skin tight, so I doubt that's going to survive a cut with scissors, let alone an entire claw from Sabretooth. And I bet you bro is absolutely drenched in sweat after a fight, if that's made of spandex, which it probably is. His visor does give him a point since it is incredibly useful, but I'm reducing it to a half point because of the amount of times the thing just gets yoinked off of his face. I highly suggest a helmet with a visor built in. Overall, he gets points for flexibility and fashion, and also half a point for specifications. So Cyclops is getting a 3.5 out of 10. A refresher with an actually good design in my opinion, Gambit. Right away, the first two things I noticed about his costume are the chestplate and trench coat. The chestplate looks like some kind of metal or something similar, so it's protecting digestive organs and his chest. 2 points for Remy. The trench coat is interesting because he does need a place to store his cards, so he gets a point for necessity, but he does move around quite a bit, especially whipping around with his staff. So it creates drag, which isn't good. It also gives people something to grab onto when fighting, but it looks decently cool, so I'm giving him a little bit of credit for that. The boots are pretty decent, but I do worry about his upper legs because it looks like he's just wearing ballet tights. What is it with older superhero designs and skin tight stuff? It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. You are basically protecting nothing. And I like his gloves because he has 2 fingers exposed for grip, but also has 3 covered for his card and staff. I use a bow staff for fun, not really for any sports or stuff, so I'm not super experienced, but it does irritate your fingers after a while. Gambit gets a 6 out of 10. Number 4, Storm. Storm's costume does vary throughout different iterations, but the thing I see in almost all of them is this weird cape thing. They do look pretty cool, but they don't make a whole lot of sense. Maybe for a princess character they work, but Storm is usually flying around and these things basically become sails, catching wind and creating drag. They do appear to be waterproof, as does the rest of her costume, but I'm still taking a point off. It's definitely flexible, yoga pants style, but what is that? High heels? Sorry. Why? And the stomach exposed, this costume barely gives any protection, but I guess she is flying most of the time, so it's not too much of an issue. The crop top style does make it decently breathable, so I'm giving her a reluctant point for that. Aurora's costume is definitely stylish and flexible, but the high heels, thin material, and weird cape flap thingies kinda ruin it for me. 2.5 out of 10, unfortunately. Rogue's outfit is, it's definitely something. I like the jacket, but it doesn't really serve much purpose because it doesn't have pockets, and what does she need to carry? The bodysuit covers her really well, which is fitting for her power. But it looks pretty durable, like Scott's, but at least it's not skin tight. Still suffers from spandex furnace problem, though. It could be a stylistic choice to make the girl's muscles less defined than the guys, but I very much think Rogue, and actually all of the X-Women, are muscular. So I don't see why they make the guys super shredded and the girls have no definition. The boots look hard to maneuver in because of how they come up on the kneecap. What is this weird little shadow? It looks like they don't go all the way around. Excuse me. Poor design in my opinion. The most important part of Rogue's costume is the gloves, which I think are fine. They match the rest of the costume and can be pulled off easily, so they give at least 2 points. Overall, this lemon lime sprite fit gets a 3 out of 10 for me. Gosh, I can't speak. 6 and 7 are lumped together because current Piotr's outfits have a similar vibe and similar problems. I'm not going to talk about it too much because it's just the same problems as the others, and I guess these guys look fine. Colossus doesn't need durability or protection. He's made of steel. And Kurt usually just bamfs away before he gets harmed. It meets their specifications, and the shoulder things look weird. Both get a 4 out of 10. Not a super popular character, but Banshee has some great character design. His scream power can make him fly, but the sail flaps, parachutes, curtains, I don't even know, help by catching the wind. Banshee needs these because he doesn't exactly fly, he more glides. I guess it's like Elytra in that sense. But Storm can fly on her own without needing support, and these sails actually cause a problem when trying to go fast. For him, they're kind of like a parachute. You might be starting to understand the common issues I have with superhero costuming, so I don't want to explain my 4 out of 10 rating. Other than that, I would add some goggles of some kind for wind damage to the eyes. I was hesitant to put Wolverine on here because does he really need a protective costume? Yes, actually, because while bullets don't stop him, they do slow him down. But I'll get to that later. My personal problem with Logan's costume is the shoes. What are these bits at the top? I get that they match his headgear, but they look very cheap and generally make the boots look like they're made out of craft foam. Again, it's just my personal observation, so it doesn't really matter. The non-existent sleeves make it look decently breathable, and And the gloves work well for him because I saw somewhere saying the weird knuckle things on the gloves help ease the pain of the claws slicing through his skin. I don't know if that really works, but they also appear to clean the claws when retracting, which is good because I definitely do not want other people's blood, or anything else, getting in my bloodstream. Which I guess isn't too much of a problem for him, but whatever, it's probably just the weird feeling. The costume is iconic, and my only problem with it in terms of fashion is the boots. But I believe this outfit needs to be made more durable because, I get that it's for the audience to go, oh wow, hot muscle man. But this is just stupid. He suffers from spontaneously exploding shirt syndrome, which I think really takes a cost on Professor X's funds. He has to get a new bright yellow spandex suit every week. So, no, Wolverine doesn't exactly need a super armored costume, but it should be a bit more durable. 5 out of 10. I'll say it right away. Psylocke's costume makes me mad. The second image that shows up, or not exactly second, but it's somewhere on there, that shows up when you search her is blurred by Google Safe Search, which is just... ew. 0 points for protection, girly. What is this? I'm not seeing high heels though, and her leotard looks like it was made for gymnasts, so she gets points for movement. She needs such a skimpy costume because she does a lot of gymnastics, I can hear the incels say from the stands. Sure, she does do gymnastic style moves, but above that, she is a ninja. Ninja are usually fully covered for defense, but also for stealth. I know Betsy, or Quanon, I don't even know what to call her now, can just telepathically manipulate someone to think she's invisible, but she shouldn't need to do that. I don't see what this getup has to do with her psychic abilities, and I feel like they could have incorporated the butterfly motif she has going on, maybe making something similar to Shinobu in Demon Slayer. It's a petty complaint, but I see no scabbard for the katana, which means she's just carrying it around all the time. Also, you hold a katana with 2 hands. Who said that? Above my anger, her costume just makes me sad because they could have made something so cool, but instead just put her in generic cost superheroine leotard number 5. Lowest rating yet with a 0.5 out of 10. Oh my god. I need a refresher with an actually good design, so let's look at Cable. Cable is an absolute tank of a character armed with more bullets than he needs because I'm pretty sure he uses a laser gun, which he has 2 places to carry if you look at the back. He gets quite a few points for protection, durability, and practicality in terms of weapons, but I'm subtracting 1 due to the limited range of motion he has, or not exactly range of motion, but he can't move that fast with all of that weighing him down. I'm subtracting 1 point due to limited motion and placement of ammo. On his shoulder and upper arm. That's where the ammo is kept. If someone shoots him there, he will have no flesh and bone arms. -1 point for safety. Aesthetically, it has a Mad Max colorized look, which I'm not a huge fan of, but other people seem to like it quite a bit. I would add a helmet and move the ammo to somewhere else, but other than that, he gets a whopping 7.5 out of 10. Magneto is technically not an X-Man, but I think analyzing his costume should be fun. First off, he looks sick as hell. I really like it when in the animated versions they make his face shadowed under the helmet. It really makes him look more menacing. His head and clavicle is definitely covered with metal. Everything else, he gets the basic spandex treatment, which is I wish he had more metal pieces that he could take off of his costume if he was in a pinch, like if there were no scraps around and he needed to attack someone. That would probably look cooler too. I know I criticized Storm's cape thing for causing drag, but Eric's cape isn't attached to his sleeves. It still creates drag, but not as much, so I'm only taking a half point off instead of full. The helmet is a key part of Magneto's design, and for good reason. Gotta keep Charles out of your head, you know? And I'm going to disregard that the part left exposed makes a goofy shape, because how else are you supposed to make this style of helmet? Not super sure what to make of this one, but I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Number 13, Beast. 0 out of 10. Do I even need to explain myself? What is that? Everyone on this slide is the more major characters that I didn't add. Sorry if your favorite wasn't in the video or on this slide. There's just so many X-Men, I can't do all of them. These are just the more mainstream ones that I didn't go over because there was too much to say, or because there wasn't too much to say. And their designs were too similar to other people's. I already went over. This video would also be like an hour and a half long if I reviewed all the characters. So, what are my concluding thoughts? Well, first of all, at least it's not just the girls with skin tight bodysuits. But that isn't necessarily a good thing. I do appreciate the variety and creativity that the creators used when making all these characters. As a character designer myself, I get how difficult it is to come up with a design that fits all the requirements, especially when you need to draw the characters a bunch of times for comics and animation, which is where all of these guys come from. So this is in no way a dig to the creators. The text I have on screen is honestly just for laughs, really. There are a few costumes that I genuinely dislike, but most of them I like, regardless of practicality. Designing superheroes is tough, and this was really just for fun. But there is something to be said about the fact that the guys generally got higher scores than the women. I didn't go into it too much in this video because it's not really my place and talking about it makes me uncomfortable, but the sexualization of female superheroes is bad. I'm currently working on part 2 for this video, my redesigns. I can already tell people will be mad at me, but I'm just drawing the characters with a different spin on their designs. Please don't send death threats over the fact that a teenager drew your favorite superhero lady without revealing clothes. If you feel compelled to do that, go step outside, cry like the baby you are, and then take a long walk home to think about it. Don't bother coming back, because if you get pissed over something stupid like that, you are not welcome on my channel. Good day. So, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. I'm gonna take a quick sip of water. You might have been able to hear that. Anyway, if I sounded really robotic during this video, it's because I worked with a script for the first time. This video took, like, a week to make, literally a week to make. So if you liked it, maybe consider dropping a like. And I don't really have any other X-Men themed stuff, but, stay tuned for part 2 where I actually draw my design recommendations. I'm really passionate about X-Men, and I'm basic because my favorite characters are Scott and Logan. But I just love all of the X-Men, really, except for some of them that I'm not a huge fan of. But for the most part, I really like the X-Men, and I've been, like, hyper-fixated on them for, like, a month. No, not way over a month, like 3 months now. And it's funny because I think I've been this interested with stuff like Good Omens, but I think it's just that I've gotten confident enough in my YouTube channel that I feel like I'm able to post about this, because other fan content I've been too scared to post, and I still kind of am, but this felt like a good video to make. So yeah, make sure if you want to see it, stick around for my part 2. It will kind of be crappy because my art style is not suited for superhero action comics, but I did use some constructive, not constructive criticism, but I did take my observations of the problems and try to find solutions for them. So that is going to be a more positive video instead of criticizing them. So, if you made it this far, I am surprised because I would probably already X out of this video. But consider dropping a like, and I really appreciate you for watching. Seriously, like, I know every YouTuber says this, but, I literally just work on these videos for fun, and whenever people actually give them praise, it's like, wow, people actually care about what I make. But, I really thank you for watching this video, so bye!